Folks, our next segment, we'll talk about the Spokane, Washington NAACP president, Rachel Dolezal, sister girl. We'll deal with that in a second, but let's deal with the McKinney case. That is still causing lots of drama, of course. The officer there, Case Bolt, because he resigned, his attorney came out, apologized, said, you know, his emotions got the best of him. So did those of Karen Fitzgibbons, a fourth-grade teacher at Bennett Elementary School in Wolford, Texas. She posted her reaction on Facebook. And this is what she said. "This makes me angry. This officer should not have had to resign. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. The blacks are the ones causing the problems and this, quote, racial tension. I guess that's what happens when you flunk out of school and have no education. I'm sure their parents are just as guilty for not knowing what their kids were doing or knew it and didn't care. I'm almost to the point of wanting them all segregated on one side of town so they can hurt each other and leave the innocent people alone. Maybe the 50s and 60s were really on to something. Now let the bashing of my true and honest opinion begin." Ellipses go. Hold up, I ain't done yet. Hashtag I'm not a racist. Go back to the graphic, please. Thank you. Hashtag I'm sick of them causing trouble. And hashtag it was a gated community. Well, Karen ain't got a job this morning, y'all. The school district relieved her of her duties. Do y'all have the statement from the school district? Okay, don't have the statement from the school district. Okay, I don't know how we missed that one. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one up in a second. Yeah, this is unbelievable. So she said, "Let the bashing begin." You stupid. That's about the dumbest. Y'all go ahead.
I gotta start. I'm just gonna say this from an educational standpoint, including the woman who was down in Georgia who said like all the blacks left. I do not think you should get fired just because you say something racist on Facebook. I don't. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's reasonable. It's the same thing we got happening with Saida Grundy, the professor who's going up to Boston. She should get warned. Every black person in that school should know who they're dealing with, but I don't think you should get fired just because you say something racist.
Here's the statement from the Friendship Independent School District. On Wednesday afternoon, Friendship Independent School District was made aware of a statement posted on a Facebook page by a Friendship ISD employee earlier this week. Friendship ISD is deeply disappointed in the thoughtlessness conveyed by this employee's post. We find these statements to be extremely offensive, insensitive, and disrespectful to our friendship community and citizens everywhere. These comments in no way represent the educational environment we have created for our students. The employee whose account is responsible for the post will be relieved of her teaching duties at Friendship ISD. We hold our employees responsible for their public conduct even when they are not on active duty as district employees. Employees are held to the same professional standards in their public use of electronic media as they are for any other public conduct. This recent conduct was unacceptable.
It's funny because I think she might even listen to Drake, right? Because Drake is famous for having a line, "This is a gated community, please get off my property." So the irony of her saying that and then coming back to this point. Also, a word to the wise, whenever you want to offer a systemic or group or organizational critique, identifying a group of people as the insert name here is going to always be problematic.
I ain't tripping on the blacks.
You probably could.
I'm focused on the segregation part.
Right.
Maybe the 50s and 60s were on something.
You're dropping out, you're not getting an education. You a school teacher. But the hits keep on coming. Because this was her apology. She said, "First, to anyone of any race that I've offended, I sincerely apologize. That was not my intent. I let my emotions get the best of me, and instead of taking a deep breath, vented in an inappropriate way. I am truly sorry. I don't want my comments to reflect poorly on my district or campus, as the words came from me, not them. Friendship and Bennett are amazing places full of people, teachers, administrators, custodial staff, cafeteria staff, parents, and others who love, care about, and go the extra mile for all students, regardless of race. As a teacher and lifelong educator, I strive to do the same. I love this one right here. I always tell my students that once they are my student, they will always be my child.
Oh my.
As an educator, I do teach my students about treating all people fairly and with dignity. I regret that my words are now calling into question. I can and will use this situation as a real-world example of how emotions and words can cause hurt to others. I am ashamed of my post. As I look back and reflect, I see how hurtful those words sounded. It is my hope that my sincere apology will be accepted. Thank you, Karen Fitzgibbons. Okay, but she was like, this is my true and honest feeling. I don't care what y'all think. And if the bashing begins, start. No, she said go.
Right, exactly.
Words matter. Yeah. And so a point to you, I respectfully disagree. Listen, anyone who frames our kids in terms of black and white has no business in the classroom. That school district did exactly what they should have done. Moreover, Roland, so I wanted to get a sense of where this was going on the ground. So I called a friend of mine who's a high school administrator at a school right outside of McKinney, Texas. And she said to me, you know what, Candace, this is something that, as you can expect, is far-reaching. It's not isolated to this one teacher, this one Facebook post. She said, but the system expects for black folks to make a whole lot of noise with little to no follow-up. And so it can't be about they just got rid of this teacher. The parents at that school, if they're not actively involved in their PTA and other channels to make their visibility, their presence, their positions, their involvement known, they absolutely have to do it because it's bigger than that one teacher.
But the issue for me, and this is the deal, yes, we can have feelings and we can have thoughts. And look, and I understand when people will take something you say and totally lie and distort it when it comes to social media. So I have to deal with that BS. But let's be honest. This is a woman who's a teacher.
That's right.
This is a woman who says they had something going in the 50s and the 60s. Let's also remember, while that was happening, lynchings were going on. Medgar Evers was shot and killed, assassinated. I mean, we can go down the line. And so when she says, look, segregate them, they can just go and hurt each other. I mean, and so as a teacher, I can't accept you being in the classroom when you're thinking, man, let me just go ahead and separate y'all black kids and y'all white kids.
Exactly. Well, and like you raised an important point. This is not a 140 character. This isn't some joke that goes sideways or could have been. No, this was a full paragraph. She had context. She'd be like, like listen.
She went historical.
You know, this isn't one joke that didn't land. This is no. You thought this through. This is she wrote this paragraph out and then said. And listen, and I believe this.
This is how I feel. I don't give a damn what y'all think.
Come at me for this.
Come on, bring it.
And look, I understand all that. I still think, though, taking somebody out of the classroom is different than firing them. I have a real problem with that of just being fired because you say something unpopular. Now, I put her in the quietest, darkest basement in the school. I'd have her working with the very same janitors that she seems to love so much. Segregate her from the population. But I don't think you should be fired just because you said something racist.
Hey, I might sit at the NAACP meeting. Speaking of that, coming up, we're going to talk about this case out of the state of Washington, where a president of the Spokane, Washington chapter, she's been like, yo, I'm a sister girl. I got the natural do. I got the hair. Y'all, she ain't black.